Hello, this video is about creating plants in general. Okay, I open a scene here, yeah, something like this. And yeah, every plant or the most plants needs leaves, and this is an important part on this. I start with a new scene and I delete the sphere perspective off, and we need a plane. I rotate the plane in the front view and turn the wireframe on. And the first thing is stay in the front view. You can lock the front view and start as low poly as possible. In the topology, reduce here the divisions of the plane and start with here the white divisions. You have to think this is gonna be a leaf, and you see it now. Now you can press validate. Sorry, let's go a step back. Make the division x to 1 and validate it. You see now the center line of the leaf, and okay. And now you can use the move brush. Make the radius a little bit small and make sure that your symmetry is on. And now when you move, you can here adjust every single vertex. You can here create your trunk, or yes, and here you can start to create your leaf. And you can do any kind of leaf. You can make here such ones. This is a grass leaf, and you can adjust it here with a gizmo. Make it smaller or like you want. And this is the starting object. And there's also the possibility, when I start here with creating the leaf here, and I want to make a leaf with edges. There's also the possibility to use the multi-resolution. When you press subdivide, the mesh is subdivided and a little bit smoothed out, but you can use also the linear subdivision. And here now it's possible to create other shapes like this. And when you make the move brush a little bit bigger, you can adjust here the leaf in this direction, and so on. Okay. This is, I think, the easiest way to create such leaves. When you sculpt it. And the next thing is to give the leaf a little bit more contours and so on. You can use the crease brush, for example, and use it in the sub direction. And when you brush now here along and you leave the front view, you see your leaf gets a little bit of curve here. And you can use the crease brush here in this directions and brush a little bit to give such veins, or I think the word for it. And when you use the move brush with a big radius, you can here curve the leaf a little bit. And the rest is painting and come on. I have to reset. Something like this. Okay, this is one way. And an important step here is when you're finished with your leaf, turn on the gizmo, and at the left side there's a pivot function. Press the pivot and bring it, the green arrow, in this direction, and move the pivot to this point of the leaf. Turn the rotation snap off and bring it in a position like this. This is the anchor point of the leaf where you can insert it. And now you can leave the pivot function, and you see it now when I bring in a plane. And we use the transform, select the plane, the leaf, and now you can here move the leaf along. And when you use now instances, you can here instance the leaves on the plane with this anchor point. And it's also possible when you draw with a tube tool trunk like this. When you select now your leaf and use the transform, you can place it here on the trunk and use the rotation to make it look like this. And now you can use the instance. Oops, I have to change to move and instance one leaf after the other. Like this. And you can adjust every leaf when you change back to rotation, bring it in a other direction, select this one, rotate it a little bit, and with a gizmo you can scale it. Okay, now I start with a new technique. I delete everything. We start also again with a plane. I rotate it in the front view, validate it, and I use now a much higher poly count. I subdivide the plane, and something happened here. Sorry, I have to restart the app. Another plane. Front view, validate, wireframe, and multi-resolution. I hope it's now okay. I'm not sure. Okay, for this thing you need a picture search here in the internet. Use silhouette search for leaf silhouette, and make sure that it's a PNG and with a real white background. Yeah, let's try this one here. Oh, this one. Save to your photos, and with the mask tool I import now the photo. Make the scaling that it fits inside the red ring, and use a flat fall off, and change your stroke type to grab dynamic radius. And turn the symmetry off at the left side. We have to change the invert pixels. We have to invert the pixels. And now here you have your mask. We can sharpen it a little bit. And shell thickness 0, border smoothness 0, and we can now try to extract the mask. And now you get something like this. I go a step back now and I try with a border smoothness of 30. I think it's a little bit cleaner. Yeah, and here you got your leaf. And you can use now the subdivision, not the subdivision, the decimation, to decimate the mesh down. With a poly count of this, I think. Here's a little problem. Yes. We can try to mask it and extract the shell. Yeah, it's not nice. I don't like this. Let's go over the voxel remesh. And decimate it now. Yeah, it's a little bit nicer. Here you can use a subdivision and try to move your leaf in a direction like this. The other planes we don't need anymore. But you see, this is not a real clear mesh. You can voxel remesh it, but you need a much higher poly count. Okay, and you can now do the same with the with your pivot, bring it in this position here, turn off the snapping. Oh, wrong direction. And now you have a nice anchor point for your leaf. Okay. And the next version is, we can use here the sphere, validate it, and we need much more poly count. Subdivide the mesh a few times. 1.5 million is okay. And we use the paint brush. And here you can search for other pictures here like this, and you can use this as a texture. But make sure that the background is away. And here in Nomad Sculpt, you can upload your texture. And it's very important to have a transparent background. So here you can choose this, and you can also change the alpha. Sorry, I delete this, I don't need it anymore. Upload the same picture. Mine is here in the textures. This one. Tiling we don't need. The scaling, make sure that you're inside the red ring. And you can change your fall off a little bit. But at this case, I think I use a flat fall off and grab dynamic radius. And turn the symmetry off and change your material to white. But you have to paint your main object here in the same color as the leaf, or yeah, paint it, and then add a layer, go back to your material and change it to white. And now symmetry is off. I only show the symmetry plane. And now when you brush here, your leaf appears like this. And on your layer, it's possible to extract the layer here with this option here. Layer, border smoothness, and here press extract. And now in the scene menu, there's the extracted mesh, and it looks like this. You can delete the sphere now, and you have now a high-res mesh with the texture of the leaf. And with this, you can merge the layer down. And with this, it is possible to use here the grease brush, for example, with a sub function on. And here brush along your leaf and change the topology a little bit of the leaf. This was not good. Yes, you understand. And now it looks a little bit like this. And the curve is from the sphere. And now the same thing yeah. It's also possible to adjust it a little bit in the directions. And now the same thing with a gizmo or pivot. Green direction in the side view and something like this. And leave the pivot. And now, when you paint a curve with your tube tool, and create such a trunk. Remember, it's also possible to change here the divisions. Use low poly to manipulate your mesh. You can subdivide it again later. And now when you paint it, something is a little bit wrong with the color. And you can now use the transform tool, select your leaf and stick it to the trunk, change the transform to rotate. I turn the wireframe off. And you can change the scaling of the leaf. Okay. And now you can use instance to, transform tool, instance, and change back to move. And create instances like this. Okay. And one thing with a leaf, now it's a high poly mesh. Here you see the mesh, the wireframe. You can clone this. You use the solo view only for the cloned mesh. And now you can decimate your mesh down. I think this poly count is okay. And now unwrap the UV atlas. It's not a clean UV atlas, but it should work. And here is texture baking from high res. Bake this. And now your low res leaf looks like the high res. And here you see the wireframe, but the color is the same. as a high-res mesh. Now your poly count is much lower. You can delete this layer. And now do the same with the transform. You can pick and hold your instance and create a lot of leaves very fast. And be happy with your plant. That's it. Have fun with sculpting. Ciao.